La forma tradicional de ver una película siempre fue el cine. Compramos una entrada, vemos la película y nos vamos. Fin de la historia. Hoy en día, los contenidos audiovisuales han cobrado una nueva dimensión gracias a Internet y a dispositivos tecnológicos. Las historias no se centran en la forma lineal tradicional, sino que disponen de muchos puntos de entrada que permiten disfrutar de una historia tanto desde diferentes medios como desde diferentes puntos de vista o formatos. Esto es el transmedia, un concepto interesante ya que las historias no terminan con un fin, sino que pueden permanecer vivas mucho tiempo. El 9º Encuentro Internacional de Estudiantes de Cine, organizado por Tabacalera, nos permitió conocer a dos de los productores que más trabajan con esta nueva fórmula.
Transmedia is storytelling across multiple windows and platforms. As a kind of a simple explanation, that's what transmedia, you could talk about transmedia, but if you talk about transmedia storytelling and you start to understand or ask why should it be happening or why would this be emerging, you have a generation of kids and teens and young adults that are growing up in a world where there's no scarcity of content, where content is everywhere and it's available all the time. And in that kind of environment, kids and teens start to watch and consume their media in new ways.
Media is an amazing opportunity that takes advantage of the fact that we're all digitally connected now, or a lot of people are. And basically it's the idea so stories can travel beyond one particular screen. Characters can move beyond a screen or a device, and it really is kind of taking storytelling into the 21st century. It's allowing people to, it's kind of challenging the role of authorship in terms of stories, and it's also creating opportunities for stories to be limitless. They don't have any bounds anymore. Classically right now, if you go to see, like when I write or direct a feature film, I'm restricted by the format. It has to be a certain running time. If I work in a 3-act structure, it has those 3 acts. Transmedia kind of takes it from a different standpoint and says story can be everywhere. It's all around you. In some ways, it's very similar to real life.
¿Ha nacido un nuevo lenguaje audiovisual con transmedia?
I think actually what's happening is not just transmedia, but it's transmedia storytelling. And transmedia storytelling is as big a move in storytelling as 100 years ago when cinema first emerged. Because cinema introduced new forms of storytelling, and to begin with, a lot of that storytelling was based on technique. So people were finding out what they could do with film, jump cuts, fast forwards, so the technique were taking form. And then storytelling around that began to take shape, and in different parts of the world, and transmedia is quite similar to that.
¿Qué cambios trae transmedia al mercado audiovisual actual?
I don't consider myself a filmmaker anymore. I feel I'm a storyteller. I'm a story architect, if anything. Because I don't shoot in film, I don't cut on film. So why does a medium define me? And then I want my stories to be able to travel. And some of the most exciting storytelling I've ever done involves like 2.5 million people involved in a story globally at the same time. That's more people than have seen my movies in cinemas. So it's like I said at the top of this, it's like the idea that storytelling is moving into the 21st century and catching up with where we are in terms of connected culture.
Audiences today tell their own stories as well. Kids today tell their own stories, and that very, very clearly is that sort of user-generated content, which is not even audience participation in somebody else's form. That's a very powerful thing. That shows you that audiences are no longer just passive. That was a very 20th century thing. Audiences want to be engaged now. Audiences tell their own stories. And that's part of what we're incorporating into transmedia as well.
¿Cuál es para ti un buen ejemplo de proyecto transmedia?
Look at Heroes. You have a very bold example of a character-driven series with some very strong concepts, which are then pushed out to mobile, pushed out to graphic novels, pushed out to lots of different channels, so that audiences can enjoy that 360 Heroes world in a much richer way than just television, although the television is tremendous.
A current example that was released in the Netherlands is called Collapsus, and you can find it at collapsus.com. It was a companion to an energy crisis documentary, and Collapsus is an interesting transmedia piece because there was a documentary about the energy crisis, but then Collapsus involves looking at the predictions and what people are saying in the documentary and then telling a narrative story for 14 years in the future and saying, okay, now everything that they've predicted is real. What would the world be like? And it's a mixture of narration with like animation, real life, like real action. And so there's a great example of something that was a documentary that then took on a narrative voice to help, build out that world. And then it has all kinds of really great things that they're doing in terms of real world examples and trying to kind of usher in some degree of awareness and then also social change.
Do not believe the lies. You'll know what I know. You'll see what I see. This is our war.
You need to get out of there, Vera.
¿Y estás trabajando actualmente en algún proyecto transmedia?
I'm working, in addition to, I design games and I do film and I do television. I'm currently working on a television series right now, which is Conspiracy Thriller. It's a transmedia project, so it's rooted, it's at a network in the US, and we're in development on it. But it'll be a 13 episode, 1 hour per episode series. But then also has very strong components that are online, in the real world, and on mobile devices. And the whole idea is like to put people in the shoes of the protagonist. So in that particular story, it's very much about somebody who stumbles upon kind of like the mother of all conspiracies, and feels like they're fighting a fight by themselves. But then slowly but surely starts to find other people who believe the same things they believe.
¿Cómo veis el futuro?
The future is really going to be driven by finding easy ways to connect people between stories, meaning that finding ways that people can find things that are more relevant to themselves. So like the future of social networking is really going to be driven by storytelling. So right now when people have their social graph, the people that they're friends with on Facebook or the people that they're friends with on Twitter or whatever the outlet is, those things are going to be driven where at the core of it you'll start to be able to watch media or watch a movie or a story or read a book, and now I'll start to be you become maybe a trusted voice for me, and I'll be able to start to find things that you like, and then I'll be able to start to make references between those things. So you might like a certain type of film or a certain type of music, and then the more I delve into what you do, the more I find these other types of things that I didn't even know worked.
If you ask me what's going to take place in the next 3 years, I really wouldn't be able to tell you, because who would have guessed that Facebook a year ago would now have millions of game playing audience members, really millions and millions for their different games, and who would have seen Twitter just kind of emerge so strongly in 3 years. And YouTube's only 5 years old. So if you were to ask me what would be the platform 5 years from now, and it's not the issue for me. The issue is the story. The story is the core. The story is the heart, and we're storytellers.